Madam Deputy President. I welcome the opportunity to contribute to this very important debate on a vital issue for Australia's future. The problem that the Finkel report is trying to solve is a problem of regulatory uncertainty. And Dr Finkel has been very polite when discussing the concept of regulatory uncertainty, as have many of my colleagues in government when discussing this report in the media in the coming days, and particularly the Minister, Josh Frydenberg. I want to be a little bit more direct. The only regulatory uncertainty that exists in this market is the risk of a future Labor government. That is the risk that is weighing over the energy market. There is no one contemplating an investment in the energy market today who is worried that, in the absence of some kind of incentive, that there is no way for them to recoup their investment in the energy sector. Of course there is. They can charge a market price and get a market return for their investment. What they are worried about is that a Labor government will be elected in the future and they will smash them with a tax, and that will totally undermine any calculations they'd make today about investment in the energy market. That's why in the last 10 years we've not seen any coal-fired power stations built, not even a modern, high-efficiency, low-emissions coal-fired power station. That's why in the last 7 years we've seen no gas-fired power stations built, and that's why in the last 5 years 10 coal-fired power stations in the national electricity market have closed. They have closed because they all know that there is a very great risk that at some point in the next 40 to 50 years, the kind of horizon that's necessary in the energy market to make an investment, that there will be a Labor government, and that Labor government will bring in a tax, whether it's in the form of an ETS as they once proposed, or a carbon tax as they proposed at a different time, or an emissions intensity scheme as they now propose, will be brought in, and that will totally ruin their investment and totally ruin any return on their investment. That's why investors have been sitting on their hands. That's why investors have been sitting out of the market. That's why the only thing that's been built in the energy market in recent years has been in the renewable energy space, and as well and as good as that is, it has failed to provide reliable baseload power that we need, and as South Australia has most powerfully demonstrated in recent years. We need regulatory certainty, but the only way we're going to get it is not just if the Labor Party willingly embraces the Finkel report, as they seem to be tentatively doing, not just if they ultimately back the government's response to the Finkel report, which I hope they do, but I won't hold my breath, but if they also promise, and promise convincingly, that they'll never reverse from that position, that if they are elected to government, that they won't turn around and go back to the tax approach that we know that they have favoured in this space for such a long time. Because if investors are worried that Labor may change its spots when in government, perhaps even under the influence of the Greens, as we saw very memorably in the period of minority government in the 2010 Parliament, that they will go again back to this tax approach to climate change and ultimately ruin the investment certainty that is needed over a 40 to 50-year investment horizon. My view is that the Finkel report is a very welcome contribution to this debate, and it has the potential to help resolve this uncertainty, and I put great hope and great faith in it. The settings that we choose as policymakers, though, to put into the system that Finkel has proposed to us are just as important as the system itself. The exact level of the emissions intensity benchmark, for example, is a very important policy decision that this government will soon have to make, and that we hope in time the opposition will support. Because if that level is set too low and it excludes too many potential technologies, then we will ensure that we'll continue to have the price rises that we've seen in recent years, that will continue to hurt household budgets and family budgets, and continue to put pressure on our businesses. When reliable, cheap energy used to be, and for many years was, a source of competitive advantage for Australia as a country, it is becoming less and less the case because of the failure to provide certainty for investors in this market. I hope that the Finkel review and the government's response to it will help resolve those issues. I hope that it will provide the certainty that is needed. I hope that the Labor Party will sensibly walk away from their approach of whacking a big tax, whether it's an EIS, an ETS or a carbon tax, on the energy sector, and I hope that in doing so that investors do have confidence that their 40 to 50-year investment horizon, they can get a reasonable return on their investment. If we do not do this, then we will all be paying the consequences. The Australian people will be paying the consequences in the form of higher prices, and we will all politically be paying the consequences as they damn us for failing to act in this area.
Thank you, Sir.